Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is not the undercard. This is not the sideshow. This is the main event. My name is Ryan Baldwin, joined by my right-hand man on my left-hand side, Mason Shepard.
You know it, I'm always here. How you doing, man?
Oh, it's Thursday, which is weird. It's, after doing 2 Wednesdays, I feel weird doing this on a Thursday.
Yep.
It's messed my whole week up, I'll be honest. And I'm not really sure how to feel about it. But it's always good to be talking sports any day of the week.
You know it.
And so let's just kind of go right into it, because Tuesday, the College Football Playoff Committee had another show with the new rankings released for the College Football Playoff. And, well, not really a whole lot changed, because there wasn't a whole lot that happened during the week.
This was really a slow week, to be honest. Like, nothing. This last weekend was just like,
Really, the only notable deal was Michigan State losing? No. Yeah.
I mean,
That's week 9. Hold on.
Yeah.
Week 10. What week are we on right now? There we go. Week 11. Was it Michigan State last week that we were talking about?
Yeah, it was Michigan State.
Okay, yeah. So Michigan State lost.
Yeah.
Which dropped them down.
Surprise, surprise.
To Purdue, of all teams, who I guess is turning into the Big Ten killer right now.
Oh, God. oh.
Okay, because, yeah, they moved up to number 19 now at a 6-3. They went from not ranked to number 19 after beating Michigan State.
You know what?
Again, not that matters at all.
No,
but
it doesn't matter. But, hey, I mean, at least with Purdue beating Michigan State, I mean, should we say that they've earned it? Should we say that they've kind of deserved to be 19 right now? Or should it just be like, it's Purdue, it was a fluke? No.
I mean, they haven't.
I'm good either way, to be honest. I don't care about Purdue.
They did beat Iowa, who was number 2 at the time. So they
Really?
Yeah. And they beat Michigan State, who was number 3 at the time. So, okay.
Think about the teams that you just named. Iowa, really?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the time, they were number 2. Now they're number 20. But
when
still,
did they play Iowa?
Like week 4.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving them credit for that.
Week 6 looks like. But still, come on, man. They can do something.
Okay, if they beat them in week 6, fair enough.
Week 6, and then, Michigan State shortly after that. So they've had a couple of anyway, that's beside the point, because nobody cares about 19.
19.
Because 19 doesn't get anything in the college football playoff.
No. We're going to have a whole show on Purdue in 19.
But, so, Oklahoma was on a bye. Georgia and Alabama won. And Oregon and Ohio State won, and Cincinnati won. So, basically what happened was Michigan State dropped down to 7, and everybody else just went, whoop.
Pretty much.
Up one spot. So you have Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State, with Cincinnati looking in at number 5. And I'm still convinced that the only way they get in is if Ohio State drops a game and Michigan does not win out, Michigan State does not win out, and Oklahoma does not win out. If they all win out, then one of them's going to jump Cincinnati, I got to think.
Well, that's the interesting thing. That's when the Michigan-Ohio State game comes in, because Michigan needs to win out, like you said, and they can do that if they beat Ohio State, which they've never successfully done yet with Harbaugh being there. But Ohio State with that loss could be very detrimental. Well, not very detrimental, but it could boost Cincinnati in that aspect if they stay undefeated. So we'll just see.
Yeah, well, it does help that Ohio State's loss was to Oregon, who's currently sitting at number 3.
Exactly.
So it's kind of hard to fault them for that one when you lose to number 3.
Yeah.
In terms of games this week for top ranking, Cincinnati playing South Florida, so that doesn't really. Cincinnati's just looking to win out, and that's the only way that and they got to win big too, because they almost lost to Tulsa.
Yeah.
This past week, they had to do 2 goal line stands to hold Tulsa.
Yeah, no, dude, because we talked about this, and we all would want to see that Cinderella story, but they were not going to be dominant all year. And when you're not dominant, but you're in the top 5 facing Tulane and Tulsa, and you barely beat those 2 teams, then no. And these games right here show us, if they ever faced a team like an Ohio State or a Bama or Georgia, they would get demolished.
Yep.
They would get hurt Very, very bad.
I'm right there with you. I think their big win was Notre Dame, and I just don't think Notre Dame is
No,
on the same caliber this year.
it's not. But, Notre Dame will always end up being because they will always just find some suckers to play or whatever.
Alabama plays New Mexico State. That should be a wash.
Oh, God. That is going to be the roughest game of the season. Woo, Bama and New Mexico State.
Michigan playing unranked Penn State now, and Penn State could. You can't sleep on any team in the Big Ten right now, I think.
No, you can't, but you also can't rely on them either. But,
Right.
That'll be an interesting where is that one being played?
That is at Penn State.
Okay,
so
so that will be very
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's one of those trap games, I think, for Michigan where you should win if you're going to get into the top 4.
Oh, yeah.
The win, because it's unranked, even if it's away, like if you win, it doesn't help that much because they're unranked, but it's away. But if you lose, it's huge.
But see, I disagree with that only because Penn State will always be even though they don't win anything, Penn State will always be a predominant name in the Big Ten Conference. Because when you think of the Big Ten, it goes Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. You can make an argument for a team to be above Penn State, but I put Penn State as number 4 right there because those are the 4 teams that we expect to have good years. Then you have your mediocre teams, your Wisconsins and your Iowas. But when it's Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, no, none of those games 0-something or they had a more of a losing record, then yeah, it would matter. But even though they're unranked, they are still a predominant team in that conference. So a win over them still does matter very much, in my opinion. Because if Michigan, like you said, because if Michigan loses to them, who knows where that puts Penn State again? And Michigan just proves once again that they're Michigan, led by Harbaugh. So no, I still think that game matters 100%.
I agree with you. Speaking of games that matter, OU begins its stretch of 3 games that need to matter versus first one, 13 Baylor is this weekend.
Where's that one being played?
At Baylor.
Oh, yes. I know Baylor. Baylor's coming off a loss, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, because they lost to somebody. But I hope Baylor gives them a beating.
Yes, Baylor lost to TCU and still somehow is ranked 13.
Yeah, I hope that Baylor gives Oklahoma a beating. It won't happen. The beating won't, but I still think that Baylor. I mean, because Oklahoma's not, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a UT fan and everything Oklahoma stands for makes me vehemently ill, but Oklahoma's not that impressive. Baylor, in my opinion, actually does have a impressive team, more impressive than Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma,
which is like being the nicest guy in prison, but still.
Oklahoma's not impressive. They barely managed wins, and so they play Baylor, Iowa State, who has a history of knocking teams out.
Yes.
And then Oklahoma State, who's ranked number 10 currently after that.
Problem is that Oklahoma always bullies them.
Yes, but I mean it's 3 games that they basically have to win out to get top 4.
I hope they don't.
And I think it's actually probably a 75% chance that they don't win out. Based on their current play and the teams they have to face.
I like those odds.
I would put it.
I'm going with the 75%. That other 25, we don't need it.
But the nice thing for them is if they do win out, it's a pretty strong resume to sneak into the top 4 as the only one of the only undefeated teams left.
I changed that. You know what? I changed all that. I hope they win out. I want them to win out. Because when they win out and they get put in there, I want Bama, I want Georgia, I want them to steamroll them because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. I want Georgia to hit them right in the mouth. I want all of them. I want Caleb Williams to come out there, those stupid curls, and I want it to go flying when he gets smashed. Ooh, I can't wait for that.
Let's see. Number 1, Georgia at Tennessee. Tennessee's been put up some good games, but I don't think enough to threaten Georgia.
No. I mean, are they playing at home?
No, they're playing at Tennessee. I mean, it's tough road games all the way
that's
around.
what I was talking about, Tennessee. So
yeah, Tennessee's at home, so.
I think they'll, you know what? I'll give them the first half, they'll make it competitive.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half, they'll get beat down.
This looks like it'll probably be, this is going to be the probably most competitive game for the rest of the schedule until the conference championship for Georgia because you got Tennessee away, then you've got Charleston Southern.
Oh God, you couldn't even
at home. I had to click. It said CHSO, and I had to click on the link to see who it was because I have no idea who CHSO is. And then Georgia Tech. TCU TBD at Georgia Tech, but that's
Hey, you know what? I'll say this: that in-state rivalry game, Georgia and Georgia Tech, it's always tough.
Yeah, Georgia Tech does occasionally take a game off, but I would still put Tennessee as the most dangerous game left on the schedule.
Yeah, no, that's the most dangerous game. I'm not saying that Georgia Tech has a chance of beating Georgia, but they're not going to make it easy for them. I will always say that.
Never make it easy for them.
Nope.
And then Ohio State, Purdue, the big one. Probably in terms of the top four, it's the big one.
It's the
because Purdue obviously knocked off Michigan State and now have their eyes set on Ohio State, and makes you kind of wonder if they just keep winning through these top 10 opponents. I wonder where they'll finish up. But I mean, apparently now the good news for this one is Ohio State is home, but it's looking like one of those games where you're kind of all of a sudden, like, you had it circled on the schedule. It's like, oh yeah, this will be fine, and now you're coming into the week as, oh, this may not be fine
because they're facing Purdue, right?
Yeah.
No, you know what? I hope Purdue gives them all they can handle and then some. Because Ohio State's like Oklahoma; they're not that impressive. But at the same time, no, they are playing. It's Columbus, right? I'm just making sure they are playing in Columbus, and that's one thing I will always give Ohio State credit for. Those crowds, those Buckeye fans, are rowdy and they go crazy, and they always come out to support. So Purdue, they better come to work, because if they don't, they will get run over. Not because Ohio State's that good, but because it's just never a good idea. Oh, you know what I would get? Ohio State is like the Seattle of college football. Because
no, I don't know.
No,
Please explain that one to me.
Okay, check this out. Because you know how you can never count Seattle out of being in the playoffs. Even
which team?
Seahawks, bro.
Okay.
What do you think? Talking about the Supersonics?
You could go the Mariners, the Kraken,
right?
Although they haven't even played the season full see the Kraken yet.
But no, like, they're like the Seahawks in that you can never count them out, even if they don't start off well, and even if you may think, they won't go too far. You can never count them out, ever.
All right, I'm down with that one. I'm all for that. Oregon is going to play Washington State. Should be a wash as well. But we say it should be a wash, but that is the interesting thing when it gets to this time of year in college
Pac-12,
football. Yeah, really in any conference.
Really in any conference, but more so the Pac-12, because you have teams like Washington State, Oregon State, and Washington that really start bouncing these bigger name schools and these ranked schools. They start bouncing them around, and they start making them really lose, like you were talking about, make them lose traction in their positions. So, I mean, we can say it's a give me, but is it really is the question.
Not really.
No. So, I mean, especially, where's that game being played? Is it going to be up in
That one's in Oregon.
Ugh.
Gonna be cold. I mean, they're both gonna be cold because one's Washington State.
But
there's Oregon. It's not that far away.
I don't know. Let's face it, because being in Oregon and being in Spokane is not going to be really that big of a difference. But at the same time, you want your team to be prepared. So
it's not like playing in Tampa and having to travel up to Lambeau.
Oh no, that's worse. Odell Beckham Jr., ladies and gentlemen, taking that boat trip.
Michigan State playing Maryland, another one that they should win.
I don't know. Only because is that game in Maryland?
Nope. Michigan State at home.
Then they'll win that one. But if it was Maryland at home, they would give Michigan State a run for it.
And then we've got some good games that probably won't affect like the top four at all in the grand scheme of things, like Texas A&M number 11 versus number 15 Ole Miss. It's going to be a good game.
That in my opinion is game of the week, because that is going to be a good one. Where is that one? Is it going to be?
That is in Ole Miss.
Ooh, no, traveling
in hostile territory.
That is going to be game of the week.
I think so too.
That's a very good matchup, and they're both kind of evenly ranked, so I'll give them that.
And it's better than the other evenly ranked North Carolina State at 16 versus Wake Forest at number 12.
Who cares? That's the game. That's the game you go to the bathroom on. You stay in there.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of 6:30 games. You can pick a different one to watch. And that'll pretty much wrap up the schedule for this week. I think OU Baylor and A&M,
OU Baylor, A&M,
Ole Miss are probably
going to
be games of the week. And the rest of them, should be wins theoretically for the top teams.
But we just never know.
You never know.
So we have to leave it up to chance on that.
We're going to have to see how the rest of it goes down here next week, and then we'll just keep taking a look as it goes along and keep analyzing and evaluating as we always do.
Yep.
And that'll do our college football segment. Coming up next, oh, God, it's terrible to be a Cowboys fan right now.
I won't say it's terrible.
It's pretty bad. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the main events.
We live here, we stay here. We never go home.
Never. I have a hammock over there in the corner.
Mine's right above him.
This is my bunk bed hammocks. That's cute. We have to bring some lightheartedness to today's Cowboys segment because the Cowboys didn't bring any to the Cowboy game.
No.
After getting absolutely trounced by the Broncos.
Ooh, that just don't feel right.
No, those words and that combination in that sentence did not feel right coming out of my mouth.
No, I hate seeing it more on the field.
It was really just bad all the way around. Offense, defense, special teams.
Oh, God. Where do we begin?
The special teams I'll give a pass on because the only real bad thing I saw from special teams was that punt. And I don't even blame the guy in the punt because how often do you block a punt and it goes past the line of scrimmage still?
I have no idea. No. See, that was the crazy thing. I saw it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that is definitely Dallas ball.
Yeah.
And then the refs were like, well, it didn't pass a certain point because it was behind the line of scrimmage, right?
So the punt was tipped or blocked.
Tipped, yeah.
And it still traveled past the line of scrimmage.
Past the line of scrimmage.
So, therefore, it's just like any other punt. Where if it hits the receiving team, it's up for grabs.
It's up for grabs. That is so stupid.
But you never see a blocked punt go past the line of scrimmage
never.
Still. So I don't blame the guy. I don't remember who touched it, but I don't blame the guy at all for trying to make a play because I'm pretty sure everybody was like,
because,
"Oh,
I mean, you got to do what you have to do, but at the same time, man, it's just like, like you said, offense didn't play well. I'll get to why that was in a minute. Defense, they didn't play well. I said this off air. I was like, this was 8-8 Cowboys play, and that's what it was. Because the problem was with and I told this to you on a couple weeks ago when they were about to play Minnesota. I said Dak needs to play that game because if he doesn't, we're gonna see what we saw here. Dak Prescott threw 2 touchdowns, but late when the game was over.
Oh yeah, garbage time.
And he was he didn't play terrible, but he was not good on his timing and his mechanics were off in that he was overthrowing people. Now the receivers, and Cooper should be ashamed of himself for that bad drop. He has been in the league almost over 10 years now, and he dropped one right in the breadbasket. That was embarrassing.
I counted 7 or 8 drops, and I'm just going to go out right now and say it. I disagree that you think that Dak didn't play terrible. I thought that was Dak's worst game of all time.
No, it was his worst. It was his worst game of all time. I can't say that he was just, throw him away in the dumpster, but it was his worst
Some
game.
of them it sure looked like. He was missing long.
Yeah.
He was not, yes, there were a bunch of drops, but he was missing high. He was missing some low.
No, he was overthrowing people, but that's why I said he needed to play against Minnesota because, unfortunately, Cowboy management thinks it's a good idea to baby him when he's got a little bit of a hangnail, and they wanted to no, we don't want him to practice. No, we want him to no. If he feels like he can go, and if even the medical team feels like he can go, let him go. But see, Dallas wanted to play it safe, and then Cooper Rush got in there. Yeah, we won against Minnesota. That's great. But Dallas went in there, and it was the worst, honestly, one of the worst Cowboy games that I've watched because everything was bad. Defense, Denver Broncos. Have they even reached 30 before that game with us? Because I don't think they have.
I can certainly look. That's a good question because, this has not been.
No.
I know they got to 17 the week before against the Washington football team.
Whoop-de-doo.
But this is not a team that has been particularly good throughout any part of the season.
No. and they put 30 on us.
That's
embarrassing. When we're at home, I would even sacrifice that if we were in Mile High.
This was, in fact, the first time they've hit 30 all season.
Exactly. And you know what's going to be more embarrassing? When it's the last. And God, that was horrible. We got goose-egged throughout the entire first half. Then third quarter, didn't put up any points until, 6 minutes until in the fourth quarter when the game was over?
Yeah.
It was the worst game it was one of the worst games I've ever seen. And yes, that was everybody had a bad day. Pollard, 4 carries for it was 11 yards. Zeke, I think, was 10 for 51. Dak was 19 to 39. So, I agree with you. Worst game he's ever played. It was McCarthy. Even McCarthy was terrible. Going for, 4 fourth downs?
Yep.
Went for it. We didn't get one.
And
God.
Those first 2 were inexcusable. I mean, you've got 4th and 1, and I know you're trying to be aggressive. And the first one I was almost okay with. It's one of those ones where
it's setting the tone that you're playing aggressive and you're playing to win.
Yes.
But it's still not smart.
If it works out, you look like a genius. And if it doesn't work, then we rightfully call you on it being dumb.
Yes.
Now, the second one, just
dumb.
Take the points.
Yeah.
Take the points. It's still 0-0 at that point.
Yeah.
Go up 3-0. Give a little bit of something to your team.
Yeah. No, we're going to go for it and then give the ball back to Denver in good field position. Because that's what he wanted to do. And that was unexcusable. And the fact that because that's the part that embarrasses me. We went 3 whole quarters. And most of the fourth, nothing. No points. It was embarrassing. We're a team, because this is why I'm not one of those Cowboy fans who says it's our year, because you never know. That's why watching Cowboy games is so stressful. It gets your blood pressure up faster than a bucket of chicken, because it's just one of those things where it's like, how is Dallas going to potentially make us feel good as fans and themselves as a team, or embarrass all of us? And that was embarrassing. Good God.
Well, let me tell you what I saw on Sunday. You see this a lot in every sport at every level, where a really good team who's got maybe a little bit too much swagger, a little too much confidence because they get hyped up, go up against a team that is middle of the pack or bad. And they don't take them seriously. They go in thinking we're going to roll over them because we're the Whedon boys. And they come out and they get punched in the mouth. And what's the saying? To beat a bully, you have to punch them right in the mouth. And the Cowboys were bullies. They got punched in the mouth and they stumbled back. They were stunned. They didn't know what to do. And then the rest of the game just collapsed from there.
Yeah.
The Broncos came out and punched the boys in the face, and they were humbled, I hope.
Oh, I hope so too.
I hope this was a wake-up call.
Yeah.
I hope this is a reminder that this is the NFL and you don't roll over anybody in any given week. You have to show up.
Yeah.
And I think that actually makes this next game the most important game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Because
if we thought losing to Denver was bad, can you imagine if we lose to the Atlanta Falcons?
Well, not even that. It's just the game after a game like that is the tone setter for the rest of the season, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's when you find out what kind of team the Cowboys are and what kind of resilience they have and what kind of leaders you have in the locker room, right? Is this a game where the players at the end, and Dak's the leader. Is this a game where Dak is going to go in and go like, oh, man, that sucked. And then, you kind of lose to Atlanta, and then you lose to Kansas City, and you start losing on a roll.
That's not Dak.
And I don't see either, but he's got to be the one, because obviously it's not McCarthy that's getting players ready to go.
No, we've seen the speeches on Hard Knocks. Very uninspiring.
So he's got to be the one that gets players going. So that means this game, everybody's got to show up. Everybody that's healthy, that is.
Oh, boy.
And they have to go out, and they have to play like the Cowboys that they know and we think they are.
And that we've seen the Cowboys that can beat anybody. Mm-hmm. Almost beat the reigning Super Bowl champions.
So here's how highly everybody thinks of the Cowboys. They were absolutely thrashed at home against the Broncos. Do you know what the line is for this week against Atlanta at home?
What?
Cowboys are a 9-point favorite after all that.
Yeah. Which come on. It's Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is one of the most inconsistent teams that have ever been in the NFL. And it's not even inconsistent on well, sometimes they have good years. You don't know what type of year Atlanta's going to have because they are one year they're on the way to the Super Bowl. Next year they win 2 games. Atlanta is a joke right now, and they've been for the last 5 years since then.
Right.
But my thing is with Dallas is that and it's like you said, and I 100% agree, and that was my thought process, was they came in here, they weren't prepared, they thought they were going to roll over Denver, because let's face it, Javonte Williams played his best game that he's played this season. 100, I think it was 118 rushing yards on the ground.
Yeah.
And he, without a shadow of a doubt, may not reach that again this season. And I'm not trying to knock the guy or the Broncos, but they're not that good.
No.
And who is this guy? And because it's embarrassing when Dallas, but you saw how they played against Minnesota in Minnesota because they were motivated. They stopped Dalvin Cook, who, no offense to Javonte Williams, he's a professional athlete, something I'm not, but Dalvin Cook is better than him. They held Dalvin Cook to 78 yards. They let this unknown, because that is what he is, get over 100 yards, over 6 yards a carry. That's embarrassing. And it's not like Denver's line is great, because that's one of their biggest problems is that O-line. But Dallas was not prepared. And see, that's becoming one of my problems with the Cowboys organization in general. We just have a lot of guys who are just out there, okay, I get to play football, I'm happy about it. They don't go out there with the intensity. They don't go out there to play. That's why the first 6 games where they were on a winning streak were impressive to me, because they were playing with that intensity. They wanted to win.
Yeah.
But then they come out, and then it's just we beat the bye week curse that we always have, where we don't play well after a bye. But then literally the week after
we
the
just
bye,
delayed the curse by a week.
We just delayed it. God, you're exactly right. We delayed it. But no, that was, I never want to see that type of Cowboys football again this season. I'm not saying that that's a guarantee that won't happen, but I don't want to see football. If they lose, I want them to go down swinging, at least like they did with Brady.
For sure.
Not like this to Denver.
You know who I think is going to have who's most important on this rebound game?
Who?
Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah.
He was so heavily exposed by the Broncos game plan of, we are going to double move him the very first play that he sees.
Yeah.
We're going to double move him, and we're going to put that doubt in his mind. And it worked. He was not good at all. And I think that just shows the rest of the league. If you put a double move on him early and make him think about it, because he loves to jump the ball.
Yes.
And he will jump if you give him the opportunity to jump. But as soon as you put that double move in, you slow him down. He's not so confident.
No.
And if he does jump, then you've got a touchdown. You've got him beat already.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this game for Trayvon Diggs is going to be huge, just because everybody's got the game plan now. So is he able to adjust, or is this going to be the same Trayvon Diggs that's going to be giving up a whole bunch of passing yards for the next 6 weeks?
I think the thing that we've noticed with Trayvon, and this is my opinion, and we're obviously, this is a sports podcast, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to go back and forth on this. But in my opinion, Trayvon Diggs is not a technique corner. What I mean by that is he is a corner who relies solely on athleticism alone. Look at Richard Sherman. He's an athlete, but he had technique. He was able to learn routes. And see, that's the thing. Diggs has a similar path that Sherman did, in that they were wide receivers who turned corners. So really they would have an advantage. But the problem is Diggs relies, and you can see, you want to know how I know that? You can see that when he jumps for that ball, because he's thinking, okay,
he's high pointing that
he's
the
high
whole
pointing.
way.
He's like, okay, I may not be sure on the route, but it looks like that ball is going to stop here. I can use my athleticism and jump out in front of this guy and grab it. And then the guy has caught the slant, and he's up the field on him.
He's a playmaker, but not a lockdown corner.
No, I would never call him that. He's a playmaker corner, yes.
He is the kind of guy where if he's in zone coverage and can use his athleticism to go make a play, then you're golden. But as soon as you get into man coverage, he's going to get beat on routes. And if you do the double move early, he's going to jump on it early, or he's going to sit back, and then you've got underneath routes for days.
Yes, and I think that's what and the reason why this is a shock, I think we saw this his rookie year. Now, when you're a rookie, you kind of get a little bit of a break because you're a rookie playing in the National Football League. But we saw that because he was getting beat just like Brown does. And we all know Brown can't cover a bed with a blanket. So at this point, it's just one of those things where it's like he has got to learn, Diggs does, he has got to learn how to stop routes. He's got to learn how to follow his receivers. He's got to learn how to become that, because let's face it, okay? Because we're seeing this now. He can't survive on being a playmaker corner or an athletic corner for too long because he's going to keep getting beat by technique. He needs to learn routes. He needs to learn how to follow and check his receivers and be that, because he's got great size. What is he, over 6 feet, 6'2", 6'1"?
Something like that. Yeah,
he's got
he's a big boy.
fantastic size. So he needs to use that, because can you imagine a lockdown corner the same size as you? It's terrifying. But he's focusing too much on, I'm going to use my speed, I'm going to use my athletic ability, instead of let me use my mind, let me learn this route.
You ready for a little HSO here? I think that 7-game pick streak or 6-game pick streak, whatever it was, I think that actually reinforced whatever bad habits he still had from his rookie year, because he finally had success with it for like 6 games in a row, right?
Yeah.
And he was jumping routes, and as soon as somebody said, well, let's double move you right now,
yeah,
then he wasn't able to adjust.
Yeah, and you know what? This is his second year. That shows the immature. That's why I'm saying he's got to strengthen this, because his brain, because he's being immature in the way that he's thinking about this. Because yeah, it's great, because I remember we had talked about this, and I had said I don't want him to be focused on his because now that's non-existent and doesn't matter anymore. I didn't want him to be focused on that to begin with. I wanted him to be focusing on, let's be a driving force that helps the team win. I didn't want him focused on some record. And it's like what you said, teams know how to solve his puzzle, but it shows how weak in that mindset he really is. If by now people are like, okay, we're just going to double move him every single chance of the week, because he got beat on long, short, medium, it didn't matter. He got beat on all of it. But what was it, Tim Patrick? So It's just like, you have to learn as a corner that you are going to have to do more than be athletic. And I don't think that he's figured that out yet. Unfortunately, I don't think he's figured that out.
I had that figured out when I was playing corner in high school. I was like 5'9", 130 pounds, soaking wet in the rain with pads on. But I watched a ton of film because I knew I couldn't compete with somebody that's 6'2", but I knew if I knew what route was coming based on the formation and where they were lined up and what kind of stance they were in, I knew I could jump a route then, or I could make a better play on that. It's the same thing. It's just when you have the talent and you don't put in the work, there's only so far that talent will get you.
Yeah, and I will say this. Now, we saw this on Hard Knocks. He was working with with one of the best corner trainers. But again, that will not always resonate to in-game stuff. But I'm bringing that up in that he does put in the work, but he's not putting in the right work. He's focusing on training his body. He's got to train his mind, man. Like I said, that's what made Richard Sherman so great. That's what made Darrelle Revis great, was that these guys mentally, not just physically, mentally could lock you down. And yeah, sure, they got beat, but it wasn't, sometimes it was egregious, but it wasn't all the time. Darrelle Revis didn't start getting beaten egregiously until he got old.
Right, but that's because when you came out in a formation, they had it narrowed down to about like 3 or like no matter what down or distance, and it may change, but they knew when you came out of the huddle in that formation, depending on all the information they had, they were like, okay, it's going to be like one of 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
And then so that narrows it down to, tremendously, and makes their ability to play as a corner that much easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not going to be easy for Trayvon either, with the news that Randy Gregory, the Cowboys' leading pass rusher right now, is out for multiple weeks with a calf injury. And theoretically, we'll get DeMarcus Lawrence back. Theoretically. I don't know.
I would like to.
I'd like to as well. And Michael Gallup is... Neither of them are listed on the injury report, but they've been replaced by a whole host of people. Amari Cooper was limited in practice yesterday with a hamstring. Ezekiel Elliott limited with a knee injury. They'll probably play. That's not too bad. It's just limited reps.
They'll play.
At least Jaron Kearse and CeeDee Lamb were listed as full participants. Tyrone Smith is doing ankle rehab, and Cedric Wilson did not practice with a shoulder injury. So there's going to be quite a few people out. Hopefully we'll get, Gallup in to replace Wilson. I like Noah Brown, but Wilson, Gallup, I think, would be an upgrade. And, of course, with Greg Zuerlein being – we had to look this up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, because the Cowboys have picked up – and I had to look up how to pronounce this – Liram Hairulahu.
Oh, boy.
Who is a Kosovo-born Canadian gridiron place kicker. He is a Grey Cup champion, so that's good. He kicked the game-winning field goal in the 105th Grey Cup in 2017.
Really?
And he's a two-time Canadian Football League East Division All-Star. Now, to be fair, we are all going like, okay, Garrett Gilbert, yeah, sure, whatever. And he actually played relatively well.
Garrett Gilbert, the difference between Garrett Gilbert and that guy, Garrett Gilbert sat under one of the best learning trees for a while, and that was Tom Brady when he was on New England's team. Garrett Gilbert, I wish Diggs would take this up. Garrett Gilbert learned, and I'm not saying he turned into the next version of Brady or Rodgers or whatever, but he learned how to be sufficient, and he played well. Now, it didn't get him a spot on the team, no, but at least Garrett Gilbert, you could tell that he had been learning. And it's the same thing really with when you look at the backups, in my opinion, the greatest backup quarterback in the modern history, Colt McCoy. I mean, look at how many teams he's been on because he's learned from so many people and he's learned how to play. So when it comes to kicking,
I was about to say, I agree with you on that, but
when it comes to
kicking
is kicking, but the thing is, if you could name off his accolades with the Grey Cup and Canada and all that other stuff, but at the end of the day, it will never compare to kicking as a Dallas Cowboy in the National Football League.
Makes you feel any better, he's also done practice squad work with the Rams and the Panthers.
Why would that make me feel better, Ryan?
Because he's got a little bit of NFL experience, at least.
No,
on the
he has
squad.
practice squad experience, not NFL experience.
Okay,
practice squad experience.
Would you rather him have only Canadian football experience or Canadian?
Hey, to be fair,
practice
Cameron
squad?
Wake had only Canadian football experience. We see how he turned out.
Should we? Would that be a fun segment if we did Canadian football, like the best Canadian football players of all time? Because Johnny Manziel is up there, right?
Not for people up in Canada. They'd hate us for that.
Oh, that's a good point. So the Cowboys will take on the Atlanta Falcons at noon at home and hopefully do just anything better. I would, like you said, I'd be even fine with a loss if they just show up and play.
Exactly.
But really, anything is going to be better than what they did last time, right?
Yep.
But we're going to go to a break and then so we can recover, and then we're going to go to good stuff because we got a new segment we're starting up called Mount Rushmores of Sports. And we starting off with some basketball. And, of course, we're not going to agree. That'd be too easy. So
No, it'd be way too easy.
Don't go anywhere. Oh, welcome back to the main events. I'm practicing every kind of which way so I know which way works best. We have some good stuff to end on, some fun stuff, even though we will probably disagree on it here. The NBA, it's the 75th year of the NBA, and the NBA let out their 75th anniversary team, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
75 best players of all time, as according to a panel of former players, coaches, writers, etc. So it's not like it was...
Writers don't need to be in there, but okay.
Yes, a blue ribbon panel of current and former NBA players, coaches, general managers, team and league executives, WNBA legends, and sports writers and broadcasters.
Oh, no. Last two, no, they don't need to be there.
So that kind of got me thinking, what if we did a Mount Rushmore? Like if, Mount Rushmore has the 4 presidents on it, and we can go, that's neither here nor there with all that stuff surrounding that. But Mount Rushmore of different things. Like who's our Mount Rushmore of X?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a really fun segment to do because we can do that with pretty much everything.
Yep.
But we're going to start with the Mount Rushmore of the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to agree on 2 of them.
More or less.
But I think I'll go first on this one.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm going to have the more probably head scratchers if I had to
Well, I can't wait to hear this. Head scratchers now.
So in no particular order.
Yeah.
Just because they're all going up there anyway. We don't need to re-argue over 1, 2, 3, 4 because then we'll be here all night.
Yeah, exactly.
LeBron and Michael Jordan are up there for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They are 2 of the best players all around of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going up there. Now, George Mikan.
Wow.
Changed the way basketball was played when he came into the league. There was not really big men in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He came in as a 6'10", 245-pound, big old boy into the Chicago American Gears of the National Basketball League, predecessor of the modern NBA. And he changed the way the game is played.
Mm-hmm.
He showed that there was, not only on the defensive side, because he was a really good rebounder and blocker,
Yeah.
but before Kareem came along and made the sky hook, George Mikan perfected the Mikan drill, which is hooks from either hand.
Yeah.
Ambidextrous hooks. So this guy came in and completely changed how basketball at that time was played. This was back in like his first season when he was in the NBL was 1945, and then he went to the Minneapolis Lakers before they moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah. That don't even sound right. Minneapolis Lakers. No, I don't.
There's a bunch of lakes in Minneapolis, so therefore it makes more sense for it to be the Minneapolis Lakers
But just
than the
think
Los
about it.
Angeles
Minneapolis Lakers.
Tell me how many lakes are in LA. I'll tell you, 0. There's way too much concrete for there to be lakes in LA. So he led the league in scoring and was the only player in the National Basketball League to score more than 1,000 points in a season. So he was a dominant force and made big men in the NBA a thing. He was the prototypical big man that all these guys, your Kareem, your Shaq, your Dwight Howard, all these guys came around because he came in and changed the game. And in my opinion, that's part of making Mount Rushmore is you came in and you changed how the game is played. You changed the face of the NBA forever. So now, let me tell you my other.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Let me tell you my other slightly divisive pick.
Yeah.
You know who else changed completely how the NBA played?
Who, Ryan?
Dirk Nowitzki. Power forward at a time where your centers and forwards were either big men who could dunk or just defensive players. I mean, you had like maybe a Kevin Garnett, but that he wasn't like a super prolific scorer.
No. Nah.
You had your Dwight, who was a dunker. You had Shaq, who was a dunker.
Shaq
these guys
was dunking
big,
defense.
Yes, the big. Dirk, in my opinion, paved the way for positionless basketball. He was one of the first big men who could score from anywhere on the court.
Yeah.
And he opened that up so much that when he could shoot the three,
Yeah.
he was great in the post, and
Yeah.
his mid-range game was fantastic.
Yep.
And so he opened up this new era that we have,
Yep.
where as long as you can shoot the basketball, they can put you in on the court.
Yep.
And he also really kind of opened up. I mean, you had Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili as well, but he is the most successful European player to date so far.
Oh, without a doubt. He won a world title, man.
Yeah, so he's opened up all of those people coming over from Europe to play and have success.
Yeah.
And is a blueprint of how to success, and not only how to have success, but to just be a good dude in the NBA and how to be beloved in the NBA. You know,
Very true.
Who have you ever heard of anybody going, Dirk Nowitzki? I hate that guy, other than
No.
maybe 2011 NBA Miami Heat fans.
Honestly, no. I think honestly, Dirk Nowitzki may be one of the most beloved players of all time.
Of all time.
Because no one really says anything bad about him.
He's a good dude on the court. He's a good dude off the court. He
Yeah.
spends his Christmases at the Children's Hospital in Dallas and he just came over as a kid, didn't have any fanfare behind him, and he stuck with the entire team for 21 seasons. But
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with it. But he did change the modern game into a game where anybody can score, and kind of opened us up and led us into this era of positionless basketball.
Yeah.
So in that vein, same vein of George Mikan coming in and changing how we play basketball now, I think that's the same vein. So my Mount Rushmore is going to be Michael Jordan and LeBron, who have also arguably changed the way basketball was played, right?
Jordan and Bron. I mean, like I said, we don't have to talk about them. People should already know we could be here forever.
And then George Mikan, Dirk Nowitzki. Those are my four. No particular order, but I think all of them had such an astounding impact on how you play the game of basketball that they deserve a spot on Mount Rushmore for basketball.
Wow. You know, Ryan, you make some very compelling points, and I don't really disagree with them. So I think we're wrong. I don't think we're going to really disagree here. So mine is obviously LeBron, Jordan,
Sure.
in that one. Third, we're talking about changing the game. Steph Curry, for sure. Because Steph Curry really changed. Before now I'm not saying he's been the only sharpshooter, because you had your Reggie Millers, you had Ray Allen, Larry Bird, and I'll get to him in a minute. But Steph Curry he changed not only the game, but he changed the culture of basketball.
That's true.
Because now you have to be able to hit the three, man. 3-point. How much have we really valued 3-point percentage until it was Curry knocking all of them down?
Not only that, but the logo three, right?
That's what I'm saying.
That's his deal too.
Like,
and now you have to be able to shoot the deep
You
three.
have to be able to shoot deep threes. You got to be able to shoot the corner pocket. You have to be able to shoot threes in order to have a winning team. There are teams that prioritize 3-point shooting over everything else. And I think when you look at Steph Curry, because you could argue who was the better shooter, Allen, Miller, Curry, Steph Curry changed the culture. More than changing the game, changed the culture of basketball, because now 3-point shooting is prioritized above all else. It is the stat in basketball. When you talk basketball, you're talking 3-point percentage. Why? Because Steph Curry changed the game for that. And that leads to my number 4. Sorry, Dirk, but there's a white man that's ahead of you, and it's Larry Bird.
Wow.
And
okay.
Larry Bird is on there for me. I'm sorry I didn't put Magic Johnson, but Larry Bird is ahead for me because, in my opinion, he was the first sign. Because let's face it, white guys have been playing basketball before black guys were allowed to play.
Mm-hmm.
But Larry Bird proved, because he was like Tom Brady. He wasn't athletic at all. But Larry Bird, in my opinion, changed the perception because he came in and was like, okay, I'm not athletic. I'm not going to do dunks. I'm not going to jump out of the gym, but I am going to be one of the best shooters on the court. And he became that by shooting 100 threes in one night for practice. Larry Bird, and I know it's weird being a black guy and making a case for a white guy who opened doors for white men everywhere, but in all seriousness, Larry Bird became, I think, the guy that a lot of white people could look. I mean, black people loved him too, but especially with his friendship with Magic. But I think he became the white guy that a lot of white people looked up to when it came to playing basketball, because by that time he was playing, basketball had transitioned into what it is now, which is a predominantly black sport that predominantly black people like to watch and care for. But Larry Bird was that guy. He blurred racial lines at a time when there was still racial division. And he showed a lot of white people that, that's where you get your Nowitzkis and your Gordon Haywards, guys who may not be athletic, but they can definitely shoot. You got that from Larry Bird, in my opinion. And I think when you look at what Larry Bird has done in that arena, it has changed. And yeah, you could make a case if Mount Rushmore had 5 people, I would put Magic Johnson on there.
Magic Johnson was my close number 5.
Yeah,
too.
Because you can't, and I think that's the ironic thing. You still can't talk about Larry and not talk about Magic. And it's not just because they were friends. It's because Magic Johnson, 6'9", the biggest point guard to ever play, he revolutionized that, because that's why it's kind of natural that you can see someone like LeBron play the one position.
Yeah, turn him into the Showtime Lakers.
Exactly. And I think with Magic Johnson, whenever it came with scoring or assisting or whatever, Magic Johnson was there and he was clutch. And I think the thing is, when you look at basketball, this is why it's so hard to have a Mount Rushmore for basketball, or who's to say who's the GOAT. Because for those of you who don't know, Ryan is not in my age group. He's significantly older than me.
No.
He's a 90s kid.
Only a decade, really.
Exactly. And so, I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but it relates, because when you're looking at basketball, it's hard to say who's on your Mount Rushmore without feeling like you're snubbing anybody, or who's the GOAT here or there, because the times have changed, the culture of basketball has changed, the game's changed. Because you're always going to put Jordan ahead of LeBron.
I thought if LeBron could somehow drag Russell Westbrook to an NBA title, that might change my mind, but I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen now. So for right now, yes, I'm sticking with Jordan. I'm not saying it'll never happen. I think LeBron theoretically breaking Kareem's scoring record, which he should do, but he's also battling injuries, so I'm kind of wondering if he's even going to get to that.
He will.
Is definitely a case, but man, it's hard to.
You have the GOAT and the king, and I think for me, I will always say LeBron, just because LeBron, in my opinion, was a better all-around player. Because LeBron plays defense, he plays the 1, he plays the 2, he plays the 3, he can play the 4. Sometimes they'll even put him at the 5 because he fills up a lot of space. I mean, wouldn't you at like 265?
Yeah, but that's also a product of the positionless basketball that we play.
No.
Like, I think if Jordan,
that's what I'm saying.
Now we're getting into the thing where we weren't going to talk about.
But that's the thing. The game changed with Jordan. Nobody was doing that. So I agree that you can't really hold that against him, but you do have to add that to LeBron in his resume, because that is the truth. LeBron plays every position on the floor, and that is a big deal. And here's the thing. We could go by championship accolades and who went undefeated and whatever. Let's not forget, Jordan got bounced around in the playoffs too. He got bounced by the Pistons. He got bounced by the Celtics. He wasn't always 6-0, all right? So
there's no shame in losing to that Pistons team at that time.
That's what I'm saying. And there's no shame. So is there shame in LeBron losing to the Warriors or the Spurs?
Not the Warriors, not the Spurs, but he did lose to the Mavericks, and I love the little Mavericks. But you look at that on paper, and that should have been a clean 4-0 sweep. I don't care what anybody says. That was a Cinderella story, and the Heat had every advantage going into it. So that one I will hold up against them.
Yeah, but see, that's one game. That's one series. I'm not going to hold against him losing to the Spurs, especially when you're the man carrying the team. And what I don't like when it comes to Jordan, man, you're right, we really are doing this. What I don't like when it comes to Jordan is people want to ignore. There was Scottie. There was Steve Kerr shooting threes. We're talking about white men shooting threes. There was Steve Kerr. Jordan had people. LeBron did. I'm not saying LeBron didn't, but LeBron James, even when he had people like Kyrie and Kevin Love, was the one carrying on his back. No. When I say carrying, I mean carrying. Like, he's the only one doing something, only one scoring, only one doing anything to put them to a win. That was LeBron.
Who did LeBron win his first championship with?
That was Miami.
Who did he have with Miami?
Chris Bosh
and Dwayne Wade and Ray Allen
and
Udonis Haslem, who was a great defender and rebounder.
Ryan, stop! You lost me at Udonis. Stop. Udonis Haslem. Okay. We're gonna put Udonis Haslem on a list.
Even if you take out those, you telling me that Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and Ray Allen are not at least equivalent to?
Jordan did it alone?
No, I'm not saying he did it alone.
Exactly.
But you can't say that. Oh yeah, because I mean, Jordan took like nobody on the Bulls into the playoffs as well. Just like he got bounced. But he took a team of basically nobodies into the playoffs, just like LeBron.
Exactly.
Before everybody got there.
Exactly.
And then when they got there, they won a championship. That makes it...
My thing is, the reason I brought that up is because Jordan supporters, Jordan fans, Jordan nerds, Jordan marks make it seem that it was all MJ by himself all the time. I can admit, as a LeBron mark, that yes, LeBron James had Wade, Bosh, Irvin, Love, Allen. Yes, LeBron James surrounded himself with people. But at the end of the day, Jordan did too. Yes. It's not one. That's why I brought that. I wasn't saying that LeBron was the only one out of one of them who's carried people. I was just saying just like Jordan's carried people, so has LeBron.
Sure.
In more times a losing effort, I will agree with, but he's carried people and they both had people.
Yeah.
So it's not, oh, well, Jordan was, because that's my problem with people like Skip Bayless, who I think he makes fun of Shannon Sharp. I think Skip Bayless, sleeps in his Jordan bed on his Jordan bed sheets because he makes it seem that Jordan did everything alone. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. If he didn't get bounced alone, he didn't win alone. Same thing with LeBron. If he didn't get bounced alone, he didn't win alone.
I
But
agree.
the fact is,
I'll go for that.
look, the fact is when it comes to LeBron and Jordan, let's just put it like this. Let's just put it like this because this is the truth. With Michael Jordan, there is an emotional connection for 90s kids or late 80s and 90s kids because beyond Michael Jackson, greatest artist of all time, deal with that. Oh, we're going to discuss that off air. Greatest artist of all time. Jordan was the most popular icon in the late 80s and 90s. Apart from like people in entertainment music. It was Jordan. He was everywhere. It was, I want to be like Mike. It was the shoes. It was the appearances. It was everything. And it's the same thing with me. I was born in 2001. So who did I grow up with in that arena? LeBron James.
Yes.
So there is an emotional connection to the people we support.
Agreed.
Even Skip Bayless has admitted, well, he won't. He used to follow Jordan around as a reporter. So, of course, that is going to be his selling point. But at the end of the day, like you said, and like I've said, the game has changed. Jordan, greatest player back then. Modern times, and by modern, I mean 2000s, it goes to LeBron James without question.
There is one thing that Jordan has over LeBron right now.
6 rings.
6 of these versus 4.
Your point being, it's a miracle to get one. What's your
point?
point?
Being is if we're going to go 1-2, then that's my main argument for
It
Jordan.
shouldn't be, though.
Why not?
Championship should not be your main argument.
We call Tom Brady the GOAT because he's won 7.
No, because people were doing that before he won 7.
When he won 5. My bad.
People,
yeah.
no, not when he won 5. My bad. No, people were doing that when that guy only had 4. All right, when he only had 4,
Which was like still more than any quarterback in
but
history.
but people were still making a point for Montana in the people before him, and now it's just like, well, he's got to look. I will always have a problem with just championships being the only deciding factor, because if that's the case, Muhammad Ali didn't win the most boxing belts, so he's not the greatest. If we're going to go championships, that's what I'm saying. You can't just say, well, he won more. Sure he did. Sure Michael Jordan did.
Then what else are we
Sure
going
he played
on?
the game. You go by stats for one. You go by
Okay.
all-around play.
Michael Jordan
So we're
had
going to say Jordan was a better all-around player than LeBron James was and is. We're going to say that Jordan played the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4, and the 5. We're going to say that he played both sides of the ball equally.
he could guard the 1, the 2, and the 3. Now the 4s were a different breed back then.
Because he was small, so
Because
yeah.
he was a little bit smaller, yeah. So, but in terms of, here's your postseason points per game, by the way, because you're talking about them dragging. Michael was putting up 33.4 points per game.
Yeah.
LeBron puts up 28.7. Rebounds, LeBron has the edge, 9 to 6.4. Assists, pretty even, 7.2 to LeBron, 5.7 to Michael. And then steals goes to Michael, 2.1 to 1.7. Again, very close. And blocks, they're both at 0.9.
Yeah.
It's pretty even, although Michael definitely has the free throw advantage. He's making 83% or made 83%, and LeBron's put up 74.
Yeah.
So just by stats, it gets slight edge to Michael, maybe averaging 5 points more per game.
But if that was what, see, but I could respect that more. If that's what we're going off of is stats and performance.
We're going off of everything,
But
but so
that's what I'm saying.
championships have to be a factor of it too.
Championships will always matter, but it shouldn't be the only thing.
Right.
Because it's too many people. Michael 6, LeBron 4. So what happens if LeBron James plays out and ends up getting 7?
If LeBron gets 7 and has those roughly same stats, it's easily LeBron.
Oh,
There's not
really?
even- yeah.
So no one's going to talk about that. It would be what was it? Is he 4-3? Right in the finals, it's 4-3.
If you win 7, I mean, nobody talks about Brady losing like 4, right? He's won like 3 or 4. they all talk about how he won, what is it, 7 now? I lose track.
Yeah, it's 7.
So nobody's talked about the 3 or 4 he's lost other than just like, oh, well, he's
Well,
lost
that's clear,
some. Yeah.
especially with Jordan. That's clear.
And so, yeah. So, look, I mean, I think the other thing that Jordan, once he got to the finals, he's undefeated, right? He got to the finals 6 times, won 6 times. So, I mean, I don't think that should factor in. Just the fact that he's won 6 is a big deal. However many you lose doesn't really matter, in my opinion. But, yeah, if LeBron gets to 7 rings or even gets to 6 rings and keeps those same stats, I don't see any reason why not.
So this is my thing. Okay. So this is my thing. So technically, if we're just going to go off the titles, right? Then MJ's not anywhere close to being the GOAT.
You got to
not
call
anywhere
Bill Russell
close.
the GOAT?
Oh, yeah. And maybe even Wilt Chamberlain, because they got more than Michael does. Tell me I'm wrong. If we're going by, and see, Jordan fans hate that argument, but if you're going to go by championships, then it's Bill Russell.
Okay. If you're going to go by just championships, sure. But I've never gone by just championships.
I'm not talking to you. I'm just saying, if we're just going to go by belts, God, I'm a wrestling fan at heart. If we're going to go by rings, then it's Russell.
Sure.
Because he's got enough of that in a big toe, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
If we're going to go by performance and titles,
Michael Jordan.
Nah.
Yes.
No.
If you're doing performance and title, we just talked about this on the stats. I just gave you the stats.
No.
I just gave you the stats.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And Jordan beat Bron by 5 points in average performance. LeBron James is not going to stop playing anytime soon. Don't you think that 5 points is going to become a difference later?
Yeah, it could go down as he gets older.
Nah. This is LeBron James. We were talking about the king, the machine. We're not talking about an average man here, all right? Look, I'm not trying to take anything away from Jordan on the court. Off the court, can't stand him. But it is one of those things where this is the most passionate sports argument for a reason. Because both of these guys, in their own times, are the best in the game, in the world, all time. That's why I get mad when people try to say, look, Kobe's better than LeBron. No. And then when people try to say, Kevin Durant might be, no. And then Kawhi, no. It's LeBron James for the 2000s. It's Jordan for the 90s. That's just
But now we're in the 2010s.
Exactly. And who's been ruling over the NBA in the 2010s? One king, one LeBron James.
Tim Duncan didn't make this list.
No, he did not. No, he did not. There's a reason for that.
Let's be real though, because when did LeBron James come into the league?
I want to say, what was it? 03?
Yeah, 03 was his rookie season. So he didn't start being an MVP. His first MVP season wasn't until the end of the 09.
Okay.
So to call him the king of the thousands is a bit aggressive. King of the 2010s?
Turn into
Absolutely.
Shannon Sharp. King.
Absolutely. But king of the 2000s?
Who was a better player in the 2000s than LeBron James? Please tell me who was a better player in the 2000s than LeBron.
Hold on. Let me bring up some players from the 2000s. Look, that was 20 years ago. I ain't going to be listing people from the 2000s.
But you can list people from the 90s pretty well.
Let's see. Kobe for the 2000s in the prime of his career was the king. LeBron James was the up and coming prince.
Kobe was the king. That's what we're doing now.
Kobe for the 2000s.
Black Mamba
was the absolute beast. Was the GOAT of the if we're going by decades.
If we're going by decades,
because you remember.
Lakers were still winning,
but more importantly, like, this was the guy who took the mantle from Jordan. They played in an all-star game together.
Yeah, I know. Like Kobe was around in the 90s. Yeah, I remember.
He took the mantle from Jordan himself, and then kind of like passed it on when he and LeBron were playing in all-star games together later on. But for the 2000s, got to be Kobe.
Fair enough. But when we hit
2010s, I'll give
when we
you
hit the
LeBron.
tens,
2010s, I'll give you
it's
LeBron.
all day. But okay, if we're going by decade, Jordan, Bryant, James, I'll give you that. I'll give you the Black Mamba before the King. I'll give you that.
We'll shake on this.
We'll shake on
It's a
that.
good compromise
It's
here, because
very good
otherwise we're not going to
compromise.
agree on anything else.
No, we will not.
And we had agreed before the show that we weren't going to talk about it because we knew we would devolve into it. But that's just how this argument is.
Yeah,
you get sucked in. Because
I just don't think you
everybody's
can
got
escape it.
No,
you have to answer LeBron or Jordan. Now the answer you give may depend if you still have friends to ask you those questions. But
look, this is why we do this, though, because we can be friends, even though we just completely disagree.
Very much so.
Wow. Okay, so what do you want to do next week for
next week?
Mount Rushmore?
Next week got to be NFL.
Do you want to do like quarterbacks? Because we trying to pick so we'll do a position.
Yeah, we'll do a position.
Mount Rushmore of NFL quarterbacks.
Yes,
love it. That sounds like I like that segment. We can do a lot of different ones of those.
Yeah,
It'll be fun. All right. Well, it's been a whole lot of fun here on the main events. We appreciate y'all listening today.
Yep.
We will be back next week.
On
Wednesdays
Wednesdays.
again. Yes, back to Wednesdays. And we will have it posted up. Big ol' thank you to K and to you, Dan Bala, Mark Lambert for letting us host out of the Green Studio here. Thank you very much for listening. As always, my name is Ryan Baldwin.
Mason Shepard.
Y'all have a great evening.